Hey, did you know that MJ Today Media, publishers of this podcast, also makes other shows? We produce a weekly show called Marijuana Today that runs an hour and that dives into the top 2 or 3 stories of the week. We're also super proud to now produce the Green Rush podcast, which is a weekly interview show speaking with the CEOs, politicians, and cultural icons driving the cannabis industry forward. You can find those shows on iTunes, Stitcher, or whatever other app you use to listen to podcasts by searching for the terms Marijuana Today and Green Rush Podcast. You can also just open up mjtodaypodcast.com and greenrushpodcast.net to jump in directly. This episode of Marijuana Today Daily is brought to you by our friends over at the Home of Medicine Medical Marijuana Provisioning Center of Ann Arbor, Michigan. The Home of Medicine is proud to be one of Michigan's new fully licensed provisioning centers and is even more proud that Michiganders went to the polls yesterday to pass legal adult use. Nice work, Michigan. If you're lucky enough to live in Michigan and need best-in-class medical cannabis products, then look no further than the Home of Medicine, now located at their new ground floor location on South Main Street in downtown Ann Arbor, Michigan. Mark and Keith, the owners of the Home of Medicine, are straight-up geniuses when it comes to the art and science of medical marijuana provisioning. You can get a slice of that genius at play by visiting homeofmedicine.org, which is spelled omofmedicine.org. We're also super excited to have the Home of Medicine sign on as our top sponsor of our big Las Vegas adventure, set to kick off next week. Thanks for the years of support to everyone at Home. Good morning, Marijuana Nation. It's Wednesday, November 7th, 2018, and you're tuned in to episode 608 of Marijuana Today Daily. I'm your host, Shay Gunther, and I'll be walking you through today's marijuana news and headlines. As always, we have a full and busy day of cannabis news in our hands, so let's jump right into it. Before we launch into news, I need to drop a quick correction and apology. Yesterday, I mistakenly reported that North Dakota voters were going to the polls to cast a vote on a medical marijuana ballot measure. That was wrong. They were actually deciding on an adult use initiative. I apologize for the error. Our top story today is the raft of results after yesterday's national midterm elections, with a huge number of marijuana-related issues on ballots all over the country, as well as many races for office with broad implications for marijuana policy reform. We'll start off with the biggest top-line result, as the Democratic Party has managed to wrest control of the U.S. House of Representatives from the Republicans, gaining a 10-seat or so majority. What that means for cannabis is that Democrats will now control the levers of power in the House, which will make it easier for pro-marijuana legislation to be considered. There were a lot of other results from last night, so I'd make sure to open up Marijuana Moments live results thread, which neatly laid out relevant results as they came in last night. In no particular order, here are some of the other important ones. Michigan voters approved adult use legalization by a wide margin. Missouri and Utah both passed their respective medical marijuana ballot measures, while North Dakota was not able to squeak through adult use legalization. Pro-cannabis, but also pro-Vladimir Putin, Congressman Dana Rohrabacher was defeated by his Democratic opponent, Harley Ruda. In Texas, Beto O'Rourke came close, but was not able to defeat Republican and walking slime Ted Cruz. Colorado elected Jared Polis, a known supporter of legal cannabis, as governor. Polis is also the first openly gay man to be elected as governor of any U.S. state. One of the better headlines of the night was the fact that Texas Representative Pete Sessions, who has made a secondary career out of blocking legal marijuana legislation, was defeated in his race. There are tons more results that we just don't have time to dive into here, so again, I'd swing over to Marijuana Moment for the full read. Another Marijuana Moment headline grabs our second top story today, with site leader Tom Angel picking up on news out of Mexico of some major developments for the legalization of adult use marijuana. We've been tracking the storyline for the past few weeks as the Mexican Supreme Court issued 2 recent rulings that had the effect of declaring unconstitutional the laws making cannabis illegal. As Tom's reporting, a Mexican senator introduced a bill to legalize the cultivation, sale, possession, and use of marijuana on Tuesday. That Senator Olga Sanchez Cordero is expected to play a large part in the administration of the new incoming president-elect, Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, who will take office next month. Senator Cordero's bill would allow people to grow up to 20 marijuana plants at home while also setting up a licensed system for commercial sales. This is another good story to open up in full, as Tom's done a good job of laying out all the relevant details, as he's wont to do. As always, we have all the news we cover linked to on our website at mjtodaydaily.com and on our Twitter account at mjtodaydaily. Owning today's top spots is Marijuana Moments, this time with Polly Washburn grabbing our final top headline with a great piece in which she dug through mountains of campaign finance records to compile the total amounts of money spent by both sides of various marijuana issues in the 4 states where voters cast ballots yesterday on cannabis-related measures. The chart and accompanying text is interesting and worth a click over. Of the 4 states with cannabis ballot measures up yesterday, Utah, Missouri, North Dakota, and Michigan, the spending imbalance between opponents and proponents of more progressive cannabis law was largest in Missouri, where no money was raised by the prohibitionist side versus the $5.4 million spent in support of the medical marijuana side. In all, over the 4 states, Polly totaled up $12.9 million spent by both sides. Pop over to Polly's story for the rest of the numbers. Those are our top stories for today. It's time for Marijuana Today Daily Headlines Blitz. Before we blitz out in headlines, let's quickly thank our sponsor, the Home of Medicine Medical Marijuana Provisioning Center of Ann Arbor, Michigan. As I mentioned at the start of the show, the Home of Medicine has stepped up as our top sponsor for our Las Vegas adventures, set to kick off next week. We're heading out west for the big conference, and we'll be producing all kinds of shows and special bits of content, headlined by our enormous 14-microphone show, which will be recorded in front of a live audience. And the Home of Medicine is one of the big reasons we're able to do so we very much appreciate their support. If you're lucky enough to live in or around the Ann Arbor area, or if you're just in town for a visit, please make sure to swing by the Home of Medicine to see what everyone is talking about. There's something special about the Home of Medicine that you will feel as soon as you walk through their doors. Get exact directions and learn a little bit about the Home of Medicine ahead of your visit by opening up homeofmedicine.org, which again is spelled omofmedicine.org. All right, time for the Blitz. Popping up to Canada, we have a story out of Saskatchewan where just 5 adult use dispensaries are open out of the 51 that have been licensed. Some of those shops have been delayed due to logistical snafus, but there have also been a number of dispensaries that have not been able to open up because of limited supply. We've seen this story all over Canada in recent weeks. Marijuana software company MJ Freeway missed an important deadline this week in Washington state for rolling out a new software release to the state's seed-to-sale tracking program. According to the contract between Washington and the Colorado-based MJ Freeway, the company is now on the hook to pay damages to the state of $17,000 for every week it's late in delivering the update. Canadian media company Postmedia Network has made a strategic investment into the marijuana-focused media company Prohibited, which specializes in producing video content. This one grabbed a spot today because of the size of Postmedia Network, which counts among its holdings many of the country's more trafficked news sites, including the National Post, the Montreal Gazette, and the Toronto Sun. The actual terms of the deal were not disclosed. High Times Holdings, the parent company of High Times Magazine and the High Times Cannabis Cup, is extending by a month the window it's had open for people to publicly invest into it. Deb Borchardt over at Green Market Report has a good story on this with some helpful updates on the company's recent financial performance. Jumping back up north to Canada, we have a good look by Leafly at how things are going within the nation's new legal adult use program in terms of rules and regulations for how cannabis can be marketed. As you might expect, there's been a little confusion in different parts of Canada over how marijuana can be marketed and advertised, with some non-licensed accessory shops being asked to stop selling marijuana accessories, even though there's nothing in the law that explicitly requires that only licensed shops sell things like water pipes and vaporizers. If you do business in Canada, this is a must-read. Another good story by Leafly, this time with David Downs examining how things fare in Missouri now that voters have passed medical marijuana ballot measure Amendment 2. Missouri is a particularly interesting case, both for the fact that it's not traditionally thought of as a bastion for political progressivism, but also because there were a total of 3 medical cannabis ballot measures up for consideration yesterday, with the 2 more restrictive measures going down by rather large margins, whereas Amendment 2 passed with more than 60% of the vote. David's piece is worth the read as he's pulled together most of the information one could want to know about how things will work for medical marijuana in Missouri. Wrapping up our news today is Thomas Mitchell over at Denver Westward with a good story about a symposium recently held in the city over the topic of how to best regulate legal marijuana. The 3-day event drew in policymakers from all over the country who discussed various topics around legal marijuana laws. Thomas picked out for some attention a discussion held at the conference over allowing businesses to open up space where customers consume cannabis. Right now, Denver has a pilot program running with just 1 business licensed where people can consume edibles or use vaporizers. This is a good storyline to generally have a handle on. Those are the headlines and news for the day. I'll be back with you again tomorrow morning with another information-packed episode of Marijuana Today Daily. But in the meantime, if you have any stories to share or feedback to give, zip us an email to headlines@mjtodaydaily.com. And while you're clicking around the interwebs, swing over to our Twitter account at mjtodaydaily and visit our website at mjtodaydaily.com to find links to all the news we cover. Thanks to our sponsor, the Home of Medicine, and to all of our awesome patron listeners for the support that makes this show possible. To join the illustrious ranks of the patron listeners yourself, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com and click on that big blue button at the top of the page that says Become a Patron. I'm your host, Shay Gunther. Thanks for tuning in, starting your day with marijuana today.
One take, Shay. One take.